Hi, it's Heather Joy with Perfectly Curated Life. Thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be making an oven roasted cod with leeks, fennel, and sweet potatoes. This comes together in a jiff. It requires about 5 minutes of actual hands-on time, and then you just pop it in the oven at 350 for about half an hour until the vegetables are cooked all the way through and the fish is nice and brown, and then you are done. So we have here some sliced up leeks. That's about 2 leeks with just the white and light green parts. 1 fennel bulb with just the white part. Some thinly sliced sweet potatoes. A segmented orange and a segmented lemon. 2 cloves of shredded garlic, or grated garlic rather. And then I have a navel orange. And then the rinds of 1 orange, 1 lemon, and 1 lime. So this has a lot of nice citrusy, bright flavors. And some fresh dill and a sprig of thyme. So, and then of course we have our fish. Just 2 fillets of cod that I'm going to season with some green salt. And the green salt is basically just dried basil, a little bit of hot pepper flakes, and salt and pepper. And then in my skillet, I have warming up 2 tablespoons of butter, and I'm going to put all of my aromatics in this butter and let them flour or bloom a little bit rather, and then I'll add those to the vegetables as they start to cook. So I'm going to start with my garlic, and we don't want to cook these too long. We're really just going to heat them enough so that they start to release their flavors. Going to add in my citrus rinds. And when you're zesting your citrus, you only want to get the color. Once you start to get down to the pith, which is the white part, you want to stop because that is bitter and you don't want that bitterness. Let me turn this up a little bit. And then I'm also going to add in my dill. Okay, and my thyme, and then I'm just going to squeeze out the juice from this navel orange. This 1/2, and now here's the second half. And it's really better if you segment the fruit for this instead of using just a slice. I'm happy to demo that. I probably will demo that later on this week. But basically you just cut off the top and the bottom of the citrus. You take a knife, a paring knife, and take off the skin on the sides, and then just cut between the little segment lines so that you don't have any of the membrane on the fruit. You just have the fruit itself. So let's stir this all together. All right, looking good, smelling good. Now to this, I'm going to add in my fennel. And just let that cook for a few moments, enough to cover it. Add some salt and pepper here. And the citrus really is the star, the citrus and the fresh herbs. This has such a nice, bright flavor, which is nice for this time of year because we're normally used to heavier stews and casseroles for winter time. But this is a nice alternative to that. And then last, I'm going to add in my leeks. Okay, so we're almost done here. While this is cooking down just a little bit, I'm going to begin to prepare the fish. Now, one thing that's important is that when you cut your leeks, you don't want to cut all the way up to the green part because number 1, it's very tough and inedible, and number 2, it holds a lot of sand. So once you cut the light green and white part of your leeks, you want to submerge them in a bowl of water and let the leeks just sit there for 15 minutes or so that the sand that's in between the little layers, because it's like an onion, it has layers like that, the sand will have a chance to come out of those layers and to drop to the bottom of that water. And then you just want to rinse them very vigorously and put them in a colander to get all of the liquid off of them. So I'm going to give this about 2 more minutes, because basically we're just trying to make sure that all that citrus flavor is imbued into these vegetables, but we're not trying to cook them because we're going to caramelize while they're actually in the oven. And by the way, the oven is at 350. So leave that there for a moment. I'm going to bring my fish over. So just 2 very small pieces of fish. And I'm going to take my green salt and just make sure that that fish is adequately seasoned. Cod does not have a lot of its own natural flavor. It's a flaky white fish, so it's not like salmon or some of the more oily fishes that have their own distinct flavor. Cod takes on the flavor of whatever it's cooked with, so this will taste like citrus and this green salt. So that's that. I'm going to give this one more good stir and then turn it off. Okay, so now we're just going to put this together. You'll see how quickly this comes together. It's going to be like a little miracle. I'm going to take a tiny bit of vegetable oil and put that in the bottom of my Pyrex dish, old school. Just rub that in. And that's going to give us a nice foundation upon which to put our sweet potatoes, which we do not want to stick to the bottom. And you can slice these yourself, or you can use a mandolin if you want really, really fine pieces. And that'll give you a nice consistent size. So I'm just layering these in the Pyrex dish, slightly overlapping. And you don't need to put too much seasoning on this because it's going to be covered up with that leek mixture, and those citrus flavors will kind of just come on down from the leek mixture, like trickle down flavoring, which I promise you works better than trickle down economics. So I'm going to just put the rest of my sweet potatoes in like that. Okay. All right, so we have our sweet potato layer. Let me wipe my hand off really quick. I'll be just a second. Then I'm going to take my Fennel leek citrus mixture and just give that one more good stir. I'm going to pour that over my sweet potatoes. And really make sure that you get all your citrus in there. I'm going to take out that thyme. And I'm just going to layer that. Now these will start to caramelize and break down some during the cooking process. So it's going to be a lot lower in the pan than this when it's finally done. Okay, and then lastly, before we put in the fish, I'm just going to add in my little citrus segments. And I recommend segmenting your fruit anytime, your citrus fruit, anytime that you're going to use it. So if you're making a citrus salad, it's just a much more elegant presentation to have the segmented fruit than it is to have the pieces with the membrane still on them. So, almost done there. I'm going to put a few in the middle. Don't want the middle to feel neglected. This is a super healthy one pot meal. And then as a final step, I'm just going to gently place the fish right on top. Okay, Now, cod is flaky and white, and it does not take that much time to cook. The main thing here is that we want to make sure that those vegetables are cooked. So I'm going to cover this with aluminum foil, put it into the oven, which has been set at 350, and cook it for about half an hour. If you want a little bit of richer taste, you can baste your fish with a little bit of melted butter halfway through. That's what I plan to do, just to make sure that it's not, you know, too dry and too flaky. And in the last 5 minutes of cooking, you're going to want to take off the foil so that that fish can pick up a little bit of color. It'll kind of effectively be steaming when the aluminum foil is on it, and you want to retard that steaming process and let the browning process actually start. So cover this, pop it in the oven, half an hour. At the 25-minute mark, take off the foil and let that brown. But I'll check back in with you when I'm ready to do that step myself, and we'll go through it together. Okay, the fish is just about done. So I have taken it out of the oven. It had a little run in, so the foil got ripped, but you can see what we're working with. And now I'm just heating up a little bit of butter on that eye. So this is what it looks like so far. I'm going to just spoon the melted butter over the top of the fish. I have turned the broiler on. I'm going to spoon the fish with the butter sauce and then put it in the oven for about 1 minute. I just want that fish to get a nice little bit of caramel color on it, and then it's going to be done. So here we are with our melted butter. Turn it on. Just want to spoon this over like so. As I mentioned, the cod can tend to be a little bit flavorless unless you really jazz it up. And so this butter and that last little bit of a broil should do the trick and make it just as flavorful as the rest of the dish. Okay, so that's that. Going to take this and put it back into the oven with the foil off, and then I will show you what it looks like again in about 1 minute. Okay, it's all done. Here's our final product. You can see we have a little bit of citrus with a nice char on it, our sweet potatoes on one side, and our leeks and fennel on the other. So that's it. This is your one pot weeknight easiest pie meal. Thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.